Huh? It's on video, yeah.
I don't know what I was doing there.
It definitely doesn't look like it's winter here.
Right. I'm not taking my clothes off yet. I've been cold all day today.
That's fine. That's fine.
I'm gonna take all my clothes off, so
Yeah.
they're gonna be like, it's winter, except for there's one dude in a t-shirt.
He's from Florida.
All right. Would you like to introduce yourselves?
I am Kara, and I am the lead vocalist of Fluttr Effect.
That band.
That band.
I'm Vesela and I play MIDI marimba in Fluttr
You
Effect.
play what?
I know. I play MIDI marimba.
And what is that exactly?
It's basically an electric xylophone, but much glorified. It's a mallet percussion instrument that has MIDI capabilities. So
Okay.
it sounds like a synthesizer, but it looks like a marimba.
And how did you end up playing that?
I started playing drums when I was younger, and it's the marimba and the vibraphone are part of that percussion family. I did orchestra, timpani, the whole orchestral thing for a while. And then you get introduced to the marimba at some point, and most percussionists play it for about a semester, and then they decide it's a whole animal of itself and kind of drop it. And I completely fell in love with it and kind of stuck with it. Nobody warned me how difficult logistically my life would be, but
All right.
definitely.
And you?
Jason, percussion.
I'm Valerie. I play electric cello and I do backing vocals.
I'm Troy, and I play guitar.
Okay. And how long has Fluttr Effect been together?
4.5 years.
4.5.
4.5?
Can you believe that?
How much has the lineup changed? Who was in the band originally?
Troy and I started the band just by jamming and having fun, and pretty immediately after that we invited Val and Jason to come join us, and then we were a band for about 6 months before Kara joined. Troy was kind of singing and we did a lot of instrumental stuff, and then Kara joined about 6 months later, and we've been the 5 of us since then.
Okay. Talk up more if you can.
Enunciate.
Project.
What about the name Fluttr Effect? Where did that come from?
Well,
My mom's soup.
You're a liar. Thanks so much.
Troy says that he named us Flutter without an E, and we all didn't hate it, and that's why, right? I think that's how we
Yeah,
got the
it was
name.
pretty much the first name I came up with that everyone didn't immediately just say, no, that's not going to work. And yeah, we stuck with that. And it turns out, now we can say in retrospect, that flutter is also an English slang term for to take a gamble or a chance or something like that. So playing prog rock is definitely chancy.
How's reactions been to you? I mean, you definitely don't fit in any one style of music, really.
Thank God.
Yeah, it's great.
Well, people are interested in it, but it's tough booking gigs because we don't always really fit with the metal bands. We don't always really fit with goth bands. We don't always really fit with pop bands. And, it's cool because we kind of fit with all of them, but we don't really fit with anyone specifically. So it's, it's always interesting because there's always some people there that get, some element of it, and then we're introducing them to other things. We're giving some odd time signatures to the goth kids, and then, giving some pop to the metal guys and stuff like that. So the reaction's always interesting and varied, just depending on who's there and how much of specific elements they're into or not.
It's a steeper curve than it would be with if we were fitting one genre easier. It's a steeper curve at first, but then we have a longer sustaining interest from people. So sometimes it's harder for us to break through to people and say, hey, give us a chance, put us on this bill. But once they do, most of the times we've had really good success at keeping people coming back to the shows and staying in touch via our website and stuff like that.
Yeah, usually audiences will just stand there with their jaws dropped. Like, what? What? Either totally confused or totally just absorbing something different, which is always good.
We get high on that.
It's interesting to watch.
But what about musical influences?
Everything.
Yeah, everything.
Okay.
Except Broadway show tunes.
I hate musicals. No
Yeah.
musicals.
I don't like music.
Gilbert and Sullivan, I can deal with some of that. But
What about Kurt Vile?
Good music's good music.
What do you
man.
mean?
You don't put.
Doesn't matter what it
Cabaret's
is or
different.
where it came from
That's not show
at all.
tunes.
Robert Smith and Tori Amos really
Oklahoma.
inspired my
Musical.
vocal,
It's whatever you want to call it.
vocals a lot.
Earl Scruggs.
Earl Scruggs.
I'm serious.
He's also a banjo player. We didn't know he was a drummer until he showed up. He said, "Hey, do you mind if I sit in on drums?" And we said, "Oh, sure." We did, and he actually played drums. But I'd only ever seen him practice banjo before that. So he's also a killer banjo player.
You haven't incorporated that into the band yet?
We did one
Little
gig
banjo
where we had
section.
to fill up like 3 hours, and Jay did a set where he played banjo. But ask him. He's-
Hey, next time you come back, bring your banjo.
Alright.
that-
Now, where are you based out of?
Oh yeah.
We all live in Boston right now. None of
Okay,
us are
that's right.
from Boston originally, but Boston's one of those cities you go to school there and you meet amazing people and you end up staying because of the people, I feel. Yeah.
Okay, and you're based in Boston, or okay? Didn't it say something else on your website?
Alston.
Alston.
Alston is a neighborhood of Boston.
Okay,
It
all right.
was Brighton and Alston were ceded
It's
to Boston during the
3.27 miles. from
Valerie.
downtown.
All right.
It did.
Anyway.
Alston Brighton used to be their own city. They had their own city hall. Now it's all.
They also call Alston Rock City too.
How far out have you played from Boston?
Well,
Germany.
England. Germany.
Really?
Germany and England, all over the freaking place.
Cincinnati?
I don't know how many different dimensions we played in either, man.
In the U.S., we've played Chicago.
Chicago.
I think Chicago is the farthest, and then we've done Toronto up in Canada and down to North Carolina.
And you've done shows where now? Germany? And are you
Germany,
from
we did,
Germany or?
We did. No, I'm from Bulgaria.
Bulgaria,
originally.
okay.
But we did. We won the Emergenza contest a couple of years ago, and we went to Germany through that. And then last year we went to England for a couple of weeks
Nice.
on a tour
And we'll be going back in the spring, late spring.
of 2007.
Yeah.
How would you say the response is different over there than over here?
It's not really. I
No?
don't think it is.
No.
We expected that it would be, but honestly, the kind of music that we do is just different enough that you always get that, holy shit, I've never seen anything like this before. Or, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that.
Yes, you are. Just not up there.
Okay, good. I don't want to get the fine that you almost got at WBCN. But no, it wasn't that different of a reaction. It was the kind of thing where we found people who were really, really intrigued by it, and then people who just straight up didn't get it.
Yeah. Well, England was cool too because and when we tour in the States, like we're playing shows in cities, 3, 4, up to 6 hours apart. And in England, we were only 50 miles to the next town.
If your driver knows where he's
If
going.
your driver knows where it's going. 50 miles could take 4 hours, but it's only 50 miles away. So by the end of the tour, like people were, coming to multiple shows, and they would come, they'd see you on Tuesday and then come see you again on Thursday in a different town and bring 3 friends, and then those 3 friends would show up on Saturday night with 2 other friends, and sort of, you could see a progression, like it built up. So, the first few shows didn't have that many people, but by the time we played the last show, people were coming to see us because they, also knowing we're only going to be there for a week and they wouldn't see us again, so they tried to pack it in. And
What are some of the weirder things that have happened to you while playing or touring?
Brittany? Oh,
Whitney?
Whitney.
Whitney,
Oh, we
yeah,
played
she
in a
had
skydiving
3
airfield.
nipples. Yeah, this
4
this
nipples.
girl, 4 nipples. She could fit her entire fist in her mouth, and she definitely had a lot of stories too. We also
Where was that?
we played an airfield out in Michigan, actually Napoleon.
Napoleon, Michigan.
And we went skydiving actually after we played with the Ghetto Billies, and they're really good friends with us. And we went skydiving the next morning after we played the night before, and it was very frightening. And Troy didn't go because he was like,
Hungover.
we didn't even think he was alive.
It was great. We wake up and they go, "Do you guys want to jump?" And we go, "Sure." And they said, "Here's a video you have to watch as you have to sign these papers." We were so hungover. I have no recollection of the video whatsoever. Next thing you know, we're on a plane strapped to guys, and then we went flying.
Or
That was a
the
good.
the toilet paper too. They set these
Oh, yeah.
rolls of toilet paper on fire in it with airplane fuel, and it burns really low, so you can pick it up and throw it. And there was like 50 rolls of toilet paper. People were like throwing them at each other's heads, like.
Flaming
And
toilet
Troy
paper
is like
dodgeball. That
football,
was
like
awesome.
he was in heaven watching Troy run around like football man of the year, man. It was awesome.
Yeah. Flaming footballs, though, like you can really like wing them at each other and pick them up. It's really satisfying to throw fire at somebody.
With your bare hands.
Yeah,
that
it
was,
really
that
is.
was a good show.
Okay, anything else?
Well, you've. Oh, we played
That
that,
hot
ski
tub, I
lounge,
remember
the hot tub in Virginia.
With the mother and the daughter.
We can't get into some of the
yeah.
because we don't want this going on the internet or something. That's just bad.
Just don't say names, but
It's
That's right, I
great.
don't remember the names.
It's great to be an independent band where you go and you play and you feel like a rock star at your show, and then afterwards you're crashing on strangers' floors and you meet amazing and crazy people while doing it. It's, you know, it'd be great to move up to that level where we could have like a hotel room every night, but the experiences that we've had at strangers' houses money cannot replace that for sure.
They'll do anything. It's like people are so open, especially I think people who come to shows, who come to rock shows. They're very open people at times, and
well, I think we bring the best of them, the best in them too, because we're the entertainers. We're the people who come from out of town. We're there for one night only, and it's their night to party. So I think whatever they do on a regular basis just goes up.
they want to let loose, and they want to give it to us when they let loose.
It's fun. I think when we make it big, I'll miss that part of that aspect a little bit.
It's okay, you just bring them on your bus.
And you just have more of them.
Intimacy.
Okay, how many recordings do you have?
3 official.
We have 2 full-length, full-band albums, and then we have 1 EP that is the acoustic trio. That's like the spin-off project of the band. That's just the girls doing some of the same material and some other material in a different arrangement.
Okay, and these are all independently released, right?
Yes.
Have you had any label interest at all?
Yeah, we've had some label interest. In fact, we're currently signed to a minor label that does the distribution for the new album. We own the music, and we released the album on our own, as in we duplicated it and we recorded it on our own, and then they picked it up to distribute it. They're great. They're called 10 Tornadoes, and we've had interest from other labels, but the way we look at it is, unless they have something to offer that we can't provide for ourselves, there is no reason to sign. We're not dying to sign just to say that, hey, we're signed to a label. We kind of embrace being independent and being able to survive as an independent band.
Do you think it's possible to make it to a higher level being an independent band?
Sure it is.
Now's the time.
Yeah,
Now's
it's
the time for
possible
the
to
independent
get a leverage to the point where you can sign with a label and have the conditions, have you dictate the conditions the way that you'd like them to be. And then there's nothing wrong with signing at that point. But I believe that as an independent band, there is a huge avenue rather, that you can go on your own before you get to the point where you feel like signing to a label will bring you to yet another upper level.
What do you think of the music industry in general at the moment?
It's searching. It's doing the little beach ball on the computer. It's spinning. It's kind of looking around.
It's in transition.
Right. It is in transition. Yeah.
It's making a huge change, and I don't think people really know where it's gonna go. But I think with like iTunes and people being able to download songs off the computer like individually and things like that have put a lot of the control back into the consumer's hands, and a lot more things are going indie again. It's just
And to
total
the artist's
transformation.
hands, because like, you hear about it now, like guys write a song, they put it on their website, and people start downloading it and listening to it, and it might not make it onto MTV until
It gets even bigger than that, but that's how the labels are finding out about stuff too. I mean, that's how everyone finds out about things. You don't need a label or
Or a radio
promoter
station.
or a radio station
Yeah.
anymore to like get
No
to
offense.
that. No offense. To get to the point where people can can hear you. Now anybody that can find you online can go check out your music it's a different ball game. Like there's a genius somewhere in his basement right now making a website and making a song that's going to blow us all away soon, and everybody's looking for that and looking for the model of how to do it. And that's the dangerous part, because once they figure out, like even MySpace and stuff like that, once you start getting like major labels getting their own MySpace pages and stuff, it kind of kills it, and people will just move on to something else, and there'll be something else cool and underground that people are going to have to look for. But it's out there now for people that are interested in music to go find good stuff. You don't need to have a middleman in between you and an artist anymore. An artist can just contact you directly.
Where do you think the balance lies between free downloading and actually making some profit off of what you're creating?
I think one of the big things is really sharing with your audience like how directly their investment goes to what you're doing. I mean, our copyright on our first album is great. What does it say, Vesla? Do you remember?
I wrote it, I should remember, right?
Basically, don't copy it. Just
No,
buy
it says
No.
feel free to copy it and give it to your friends if you want, but just remember where it came from, and that
And
by
that by
purchasing
buying
this
it,
album-
you're giving us a chance to record another
Yeah.
one. I mean, I think what's happening with the business right now is it's becoming more and more consumer oriented again, where the person who's buying the song is the one that's dictating what they want to hear, as opposed to the label telling people what they want to hear.
Well,
The fact
also-
that they can come and buy it directly from our
Yeah.
website, and it's a matter of educating people. It's a matter of explaining to them the direct relation where this isn't money you're paying to the label, and if the CD costs $16, we're not going to get 35 cents of it. If you're buying our album, all the money's coming to us, and guess what? We're putting it directly back into the studio to record the next one. So I think when people start to understand and make that connection, it's the downloading. I mean, any independent band should not have any problem giving their music away, because we need exposure more than we need anything else. As
Right.
Derek Sivers from City Babe was saying, one of the biggest problems that independent bands are dealing with is obscurity. There's so many of us, and everybody's trying to do that different thing and come up a little bit above so that people can notice them. And if you don't have the money and you want to take our song and tell people where you got it from, hey, more than happy.
And part of the problem too is a lot of it is like the MTV image of rock bands and stuff. Like not every rock band, drives a limo or rides in a bus. We don't live like Jay-Z, and like once people see that, nobody feels bad bootlegging an album by Metallica, because those guys are, platinum millionaires complaining about their, going to therapy and making videos of it, Nobody feels sorry for them. But if people actually saw how most musicians live, that, by bootlegging this guy's album, he might not make his car payment this month, I think people would have a different attitude about it, and sure, we really don't care if you download the album, but if you really like the music and you want to hear more of it, buy the album, because that means we'll get to make another album. Like if you have to keep struggling along in obscurity and maintaining a day job and, all of this other stuff, like eventually, you're just going to get burnt out on it and the music will die. But if you like the music, support the music and show people that you want more of it.
Or come to the next show, bring you 5 friends with you
Come to
that
a
you
live
share
show.
our music with.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll totally accept a cocktail if you bootleg my album, buy me a drink. That's simple enough.
Okay, what makes it most worth it for you to do this?
Groupies. No, that's free cocktails.
Well,
The togetherness of the band. I'd have to say that.
connecting to the audience members, but also doing that while connecting with each other. I mean, like, it's about sharing music with other people, but honestly, like, if you have a good night where you're playing with people that you care about and you're making great music, it doesn't matter if you're playing for 2 people or 200. I mean, like, and I think people respond to that when you're connecting with people on stage and you're creating something there in front of them, and you're using that creative process and your imagination. People respond to that. They see that and they kind of think outside of their own box a little bit as far as like what your possibilities are.
If I think that the more vulnerable, I feel this for myself at least, the more vulnerable I can make myself in front of a large group of people, then the more they will be able to break through their own fear that they experience in their lives. So if I can get up there and say, see guys, it's safe, you know, you can do this, you can communicate, you can love each other, you can show each other what is going on inside of you in its absolute truth. Now you do it. Now you can do it. Now go to your daily lives and, you know, go through your daily lives, and anything that you're feeling fear about, break through it, you know, like, I feel like I could be a model for that, for people to really not be afraid of making themselves vulnerable and having deeper relationships and connections with each other. That's a personal thing.
I mean, loving what you do and getting up in front of people and doing it on a daily basis and seeing the inspiration in their eyes, and then getting off stage and hearing people saying things like, I haven't picked up the cello in 3 years, but I used to play it and I think I'm going to start taking lessons again. Hey, this person may not ever be a cello player in their life, but you just inspired them to do something outside of their daily routine. To me, that's precious.
Okay, what if you could change anything about the music industry today, whether it be the scene or the actual full-out industry, what would it be?
Can I?
Yeah,
Yes, you
okay.
can.
I know what you're going to say.
Well, I don't really have a good answer. I just have like a fluffy kind of answer. But I think it would be great if there was an organization and this supported. Ooh, let's see. This would. I think we would get Elliot Spitzer involved, and this would be like an anti-payola thing. And what they would do is they'd make all the radio stations accused of payola, or like the record labels or whatever. They would have to provide transportation for bands in a green form.
Let's take this a step further and take all the money that's being put into wars and being put into weapons and being put into destructive stuff, and direct that money into artists and people who are creating something that is, I mean, if you think of a rich nation that is doing all right on a basic level, the next step up is creating art and creating music. And throughout history, in Renaissance times, all the great artists had mecenat, or I don't know what you say this in English, a rich person who paid
patronage.
for a patronage. And there are countries in the world that take really good care of their artists and musicians. And if that was a global thing where musicians were supported by the government and were supported by organizations financially, then we wouldn't have to worry about the day-to-day, do I pay for a gas or do I write a song? Do I go to a day job that means nothing to me, or do I perfect the art that I'm working on? So I mean, it's bigger than the industry, really. It goes further into society, but...
Okay.
There's one more simple thing, and that's image. I think image needs to not matter so much. It's a little bit more simple than the other ideas, but
I don't know if it is, actually. It's a tough one. It's a very valid point, but I don't know if it's easier to change people from looking at image and...
Rather than substance?
measuring the inside instead
Well,
of
part of
what's
it comes
going on.
from the audience too. Like people, you know, most people don't really go out of their way to listen to music. They hear it on TV, they hear it on the radio, and those mediums are all controlled by people who are only promoting the music as a way to make money somehow, whether it be a jingle or whether it be someone's hit song. And you know, a big step would be to try to open those formats up, you know, like not just let MTV play whatever crap's on there, but actually making it more like college radio, like freeform. Like, you know, it'd be awesome if you could find 10 actual freeform stations on your radio dial in any given city that were actually competing with each other to play music people liked. And that's why people tuned into the radio station, is because they're playing stuff they liked, whether or not it's, you know, the program director has approved it or doesn't fit their format. Like, I don't care what your format is. Like, I'll listen to a country program right after a metal program, right after a jazz program.
Yeah.
That's what I would like to hear on the radio, but instead you know exactly what you're going to get as soon as you turn on the first song. You're like, oh, alright, this pop station, alright, it's a metal station, alright, it's a country station, and that's it. And you know, you're lucky to hear that music on there because you got some douchebag talking for 20 minutes telling stupid jokes and like trying to titillate 17-year-olds talking about boobies on the air. Like, that's totally bogus, and like, you know, in a way, like, the audience has come to expect that, and they don't really demand anything more out of the music than that. And unless you're opening people up to those alternatives of, like, you know,
people aren't going to go out of their way to hear jazz if they're not into it, but if they might hear it on the radio once in a while, they might actually hear something they like and get into that stuff. The same way with prog or metal or anything else, you know, but most people don't ever get exposed to that stuff.
Okay, so you've been doing this how long? How long's it been? 6 years?
4.5.
4.5 years. Okay. In that 4.5 years to this point, if you never made it any further than this, would you say it's been worth it?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
No.
For you, Troy.
No
I
regrets.
just have to be the voice of dissent.
It depends.
No
on,
regrets,
it
yeah.
depends on how you define worth it. Were the 4 years worth putting the effort that we put into? Sure. And do I feel satisfied with the level that we've gotten to? No, not yet. So I wouldn't change anything, as in I don't regret a minute or a second of work and effort that we've put into this so far. But I
Maybe a
think that we
couple
have
minutes.
the potential to keep for those drunk ones. But yeah, I don't think any of us would regret the fact that we've done it, and it doesn't feel like a waste of time even if it ended right now, and it'll leave great memories and all that. But there is more room to go.
Okay. Is there anything else you want people to know about the band?
Val's not
Midgets.
wearing panties.
Our website is fluttreffect.com.
And we love talking to people, so when they email us, we actually get back to them.
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons we do this is so we can meet other people that think alike and make friends.
And send us cookies.
Cookies, yeah.
Cookies.
We like cookies.
Cookies.
Rice Krispie treats.
All right.